Mr. Speaker, while families are struggling to keep up with rising prices for food, housing, gas, and utilities, this president is focused on something else entirely different: himself. He's spending taxpayer dollars on a lavish White House ballroom. He's tearing up the reflecting pool for another vanity project. He's putting his name and image on anything he can. While Americans are tightening their belts, Donald Trump is building monuments to himself. And 1 year later, Republicans are still celebrating what they call the president's signature legislative achievement. That law ripped health care away from millions of Americans, cut food assistance for families and children, made it harder to afford college, all to hand out massive tax breaks to the wealthiest people in America. It was a transfer of wealth from working people to wealthy people. 17 million Americans have lost health care. More than 4 million Americans, including 800,000 children, have already lost access to basic food assistance. Meanwhile, the wealthiest, 0.1% received tax cuts worth nearly $250,000 just last year. So I'll ask a simple question. How has Trump's big ugly law helped the American people? Because as far as I can tell, it's just welfare for the wealthy and well-connected. Meanwhile, we've gotten higher prices, higher inflation, slower job growth, and an economy that works even better for those already on top. Republicans called it the one big beautiful bill. I call it a big ugly law, because there is nothing beautiful about taking health care and food away from families to pay for tax cuts for billionaires. So, happy anniversary to Trump's signature achievement. 1 year later, the verdict is in. Working families paid the price, and the wealthiest Americans cashed the check. And with that, I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back. Chair recognizes the gentleman from New York, Mr. Morelli, for 5 minutes.
I ask unanimous consent to address the House or revise and extend my remarks.
So, without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to recognize an extraordinary leader, a cherished friend, and someone whose impact on Rochester will be felt for generations to come, Hillary Olson. Since arriving at the Rochester Museum and Science Center in 2018, Hillary has helped strengthen one of the cornerstones of our community. Through enormous challenges, including the pandemic, she guided the RMSC with vision, determination, and grace, helping ensure it emerged stronger than ever. Hillary cares deeply about this community, about its history, about its future, and the people who call it home. She brings warmth, curiosity, and an unwavering belief that institutions like the Museum and Science Center can inspire young people, connect communities, and open minds. Because of her leadership, countless families, students, and visitors have experienced the wonder of science, culture, and discovery. While we are sad to see her leave, Rochester, we are proud to see her take on this next chapter, knowing she will bring with it that same remarkable leadership wherever she goes. I wish her nothing but success, happiness, and continued impact in the new role and in the years ahead. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Dr. Beth Paul as she concludes her tenure as president of Nazareth University after 6 years of remarkable leadership. Beth arrived in Nazareth during one of the most difficult moments in modern higher education, taking the helm in the midst of a global pandemic. Through steady leadership, vision, and determination, she helped guide the institution through extraordinary challenges while positioning it for a stronger future. Under her leadership, Nazareth embraced a historic new chapter, transitioning from Nazareth College to Nazareth University and celebrating its centennial year, milestones that will shape the institution for generations to come. Beth has been a passionate advocate for students, a champion of higher education, and a leader who understands that universities are not just places of learning, they are engines of opportunity, discovery, and service. On behalf of our entire community, I thank my dear friend, Dr. Beth Paul, for her leadership, her service, and her unwavering commitment to helping students realize their potential. Mr. Speaker, I rise today after visiting the Buffalo Federal Detention Facility in Batavia, New York, where I met with my constituent, Omar Ramos Jimenez. Omar has lived in Rochester for 3 decades. He has worked, paid taxes, raised a family, and built a life in our community. He is not a danger to anyone. He is not a flight risk. He is a husband, a father, a neighbor. And as we spoke, he kept repeating the same words: I just want to go home. Not to Mexico, to Rochester, because Rochester is his home. Donald Trump told the American people he would target violent criminals, the worst of the worst. Instead, we're seeing longtime productive members of our community swept up in a system built on fear. It's not about public safety. It's simply about cruelty. And in this moment, we must uphold American values. Dignity must be non-negotiable. Due process must be non-negotiable. Basic humanity must be non-negotiable. I will continue fighting for Omar, for thousands like him, and for an immigration system rooted in fairness, decency, and respect for every person. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Mullen, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to talk about nitrous oxide, a deadly inhalant that is being sold to consumers online and in stores across the U.S. Put yourself in the shoes of a parent who just received the worst news of their life. Your child has suddenly become unable to walk, they have blood clots around their lungs, or tragically, they have lost their life, all because they got addicted to inhaling nitrous oxide they bought legally off the shelf from their corner store or online in bulk. While grieving the unimaginable, you're left asking, how did this happen? That's what Julia Charleston was thinking when her 34-year-old son, Robert, a military veteran, died after becoming addicted to nitrous oxide. Often called laughing gas, nitrous is probably something you've heard about at the dentist, but it is extremely dangerous to inhale without medical supervision. Even a single use can cause debilitating side effects like neurological damage or even death. And this is a growing problem. 14 million Americans say they have misused nitrous oxide, and fatalities from nitrous oxide misuse have increased by 578% in the past decade. Despite these risks, nitrous oxide is being marketed as a carefree party drug with names like Galaxy Gas or Baking Bad in giant, brightly colored canisters and flavors. This is clearly targeting both kids and adults for recreational use. Meanwhile, the smaller canisters, like this one, are pervasive at music concerts, college campuses, parks, and beaches. Social media videos of people using nitrous have glamorized and fueled this deadly trend. And DUI nitrous cases are putting everyone in harm's way.